Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the Fantasy Pros Dynasty Football Podcast. I'm Ryan Wormeli, joined by Pat Fitzmaurice. It is our monthly Discord Stages check-in. We call it the trade block. We are talking about the latest updates to the trade value chart, which you can find at fantasypros.com, where you can just go ahead and Google Dynasty Trade Value Chart and Fantasy Pros. We'll go through some of those updates, and then in the second half of the show, we will take your questions, you the listeners. So anybody here on Discord can put those in the chat. They can raise their hand. It'll be about roughly 30 minutes or so. The whole show is going to be an hour, so the back 30 minutes or so is when you should be able to expect us to pull you up and start talking to you and answering your questions live. Fitz, does that all sound good?
That does sound good, Worm. Great to be doing a show with you. We have not been together for a while. You've been doing some traveling. I took a little golf vacation with some guys from the company, so nice to reconnect, brother.
I was going to say, it feels like it has been a minute, actually. I was back east. I went to Baltimore. I hit up an Orioles game with my family. We were there for my grandfather passed away a few months ago, and we did a celebration of life. We waited for the spring because baseball was super important to him, so we actually got a box at Camden Yards, which I had never done before. So having a suite there with like 30-plus members of the family. It was my nephew's first baseball game. We ate some crabs. We played some games. It was a really fun time and a fun way to really remember him. And he's the type of person who would have like rolled his eyes at us making a big fuss, but we were all happy to do it, and it was very fun to get to see everybody and go to the Orioles game and experience it in a way I hadn't before. So that was fun. How was the golf trip?
It was good. Down in Myrtle Beach, and it was nice. It was like we've had a really cold spring in the Midwest, so now it's warmed up this week, but that gave us a little early taste. And, it's always good to get together with some of the guys from the company. And, I mostly played terrible golf, except my one brief shining moment of competence came in the one match we were playing for money. So, took some money off some of the guys.
You hustled everybody, really.
Yeah, it seemed that way. But, then I quickly went back to being garbage after that. So.
I am horrific at golf, but I always have fun. I always say I'm there for a little bit of sun and a lot of bit of beer is why I golf, and it's usually a good time. So, all right, let's dive into the updates to the Dynasty Trade Value Chart. We'll go through position by position as we usually do. And Fitz, this is particularly exciting because this is the first one of these iterations of this show post-draft. We finally have landing spots. We've answered tons of questions over the previous months from folks about, if so-and-so goes here, how much higher do they move? Genty's number one no matter what, but where could Marion Hampton go? How much higher could he get in the right landing spot? We can finally talk about these guys. Obviously, it's been a couple weeks since the draft for anybody who's looking for Dynasty content in general, but for us on this show on Discord, it's our first one since the draft, so that is particularly exciting. We'll start, I think, with the quarterbacks where we usually do, and there really wasn't a whole lot of movement here. The biggest thing, and, let us be the latest podcast to talk about Shedeur Sanders, he's clearly the biggest faller, just given what we kind of expected to see out of his draft capital and what we did see. He's now on our trade value chart all the way down at QB 31. I know you are a big Shedeur Sanders fan. Do you think that might actually be, if he is the player that you think he is, and maybe he fell for whatever, the circus surrounding him stuff was, if he gets a chance to start in Cleveland, that's going to look pretty low.
It is, for sure, Worm. And the nice thing is, that the Browns are going to audition both Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel this year. They absolutely have to. They have to know where they stand at quarterback going into 2026, which looks to be a quarterback-rich draft. So they've got to get that sorted out. They have to know whether they can possibly chart a course forward with one of the rookies in this year's draft. So, I'm still pretty high on him. Obviously, there were concerns about the circus coming along with Shedeur and like having Deion Sanders as his dad, who has expressed interest in eventually becoming an NFL head coach, and what organization wants to bring in a guy who might be, bucking to coach his son at some point and at great great headaches for whatever the current regime is. So I do get it. I didn't really think that was going to happen the way it did. I thought some team would suck it up and take him, but it didn't happen. But still, I mean, I think he's a good quarterback, and like he does a lot of the things we want quarterbacks to do in the NFL. Work through progressions, throw with anticipation, be accurate, not throw balls into danger. And I don't know. I'm still high on the player, but obviously we had to dock him after the precipitous slide in the draft.
Let me ask you this. Let's say he was drafted with their first pick in the second round, or even let's say the situation is what it is, but next month they come out and say, you know what, we botched it. He should have gone way higher. This is our starting quarterback. Where would he rank for you amongst dynasty quarterbacks in that scenario if the Browns make it clear he is their starter at the very least going into week 1?
Right around where Jaxson Dart is. Yeah, I still think he's a better player than Jaxson Dart, but after where they went in the draft, I have to rank Dart higher.
Yeah, Dart rises a little bit in the chart, but he's essentially in the same spot he was. It's a very minor upgrade that we have with him officially getting that first-round capital. I actually thought he might go up more. I'm not sure who he should have gone ahead of, so maybe I take it back in saying I thought he would have gone up more, but it wasn't a sure thing that he was going to be a first-round pick, so the fact that he is, I would have thought in Superflex would maybe give him a little stronger standing. The other rookie, of course, is Tyler Shuck, who now with Derek Carr's announcement, which again came after the draft, he is now inside our top 32 on the Dynasty Trade Value chart. He is QB 32, but he is going to get the opportunity to be their starter, which is going to be valuable in a Superflex.
It is going to be valuable in a Superflex, at least if he demonstrates some competence. And, that's right in line with where I have him. I still have Matthew Stafford ranked higher just on the basis of expecting one or two more good seasons from Matthew Stafford, not knowing if we'll ever get even one good season out of Tyler Shuck. But the quarterbacks in the Saints QB room right now are Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler, and Jake Haener. And out of those guys, I mean, I think Shuck has probably got the leg up because Rattler was, a fifth? Haener was a fourth.
Yep.
Shuck was an early second.
I liked Rattler. I if they hadn't taken Shuck, I would have been really not excited, but intrigued to see what would happen with him in that QB competition. But obviously, you can't be too enthusiastic about it now. Before we move off quarterbacks, just obviously we had to hit on the rookies who are all, given the nature of this class, ranked a little bit lower. Looking at the top, I was just kind of skimming through again, not a ton of big changes, so I don't want to spend too much time on this. But I am just curious as we sit here, we've now seen what these teams have done in the draft. We have a sense of what supporting casts are going to be. The top 6 are pretty clear. I mean, you can obviously discuss the order, but in some order, Daniels, Allen, Jackson, Burrow, Mahomes, Hurts, I think is going to be most people's top 6 in some order. Who is QB, assuming you have those same top 6, so correct me if you don't, but assuming you have the same top 6, who is your QB 7? Because you look at the next names, Herbert, Stroud, Maye, Love, Kaleb, has a lot of stuff around him. I could see a scenario where any of those guys are looking, I can see those guys being ranked in any order as of right now.
It's Drake Maye for me. I just thought he was really impressive as a rookie considering the grim circumstances he was in with a terrible offensive line and not a lot of pass catching weaponry. So plus he is going to run aggressively, and I think that was almost sort of disguised last year. Like, he didn't run quite as much as I thought he would, but man, he's going to put points on the board for fantasy managers with his running. And I think there's a lot of passing upside too, especially now that they have brought in Stephon Diggs and drafted Kyle Williams and made some additions to the offensive line. So I'm expecting a step forward for Drake Maye in year 2, and I think year 1 was actually pretty good.
I'm right there with you. I mean, I really like all these guys. Like, I actually have our work league that we're in that I won last year, not to brag. Our work dynasty league, I have Stroud, Maye, and Herbert are my 3 quarterbacks. So that kind of group, that trio, and then Jordan Love right after them in our rankings, that 7 to 10 range, I think is really fascinating. Obviously, I'm pretty happy with that grouping.
With good reason.
I'm very in on Drake Maye. I think you might be the only person at the company who likes Drake Maye as much as I do in terms of our dynasty value here. Also, just in scanning, just quickly, I want to say, like, Trevor Lawrence at 15. I maybe I'm the fool, but I'm buying in one last time. I'm not gonna give him another year after this, but I would be looking to buy Trevor Lawrence if he's being evaluated in those teens range.
Yeah, I've got him at 16, and right behind Michael Penix, Kyler Murray, and Brock Purdy, and I could actually make a case for putting him ahead of any of those guys.
I don't think he's going to be 16th next year. I think he's either going to be like, okay, this is never happening. We're dropping him like maybe lower into the 20s, or he does put it all together with the new coaching staff. They added Travis Hunter, and he's up inside that top 12. I don't expect him to be in the mid-teens, but I'm not 100% sure which direction it'll go. I'm just buying in on it being a positive direction.
There has to be a step forward this year, no question.
Yeah. Let's look at the running backs here. Obviously, Ashton Jeanty was already very highly valued. To what degree did the landing spot of Vegas change his value in your estimation when putting together the trade value chart?
Yeah, so his value increased by 2 points, and I think that's reasonable. Like, they had a vacancy for a heavy-duty running back. There is not anyone who is going to, like, push for significant playing time other than the occasional breather for Ashton Jeanty. Even though the Raiders' offensive line did not fare all that well in the run-blocking metrics last year, I think they were 30th in adjusted line yards, and I think 32nd in PFF's run-blocking ratings. But I don't think it's a terrible offensive line as far as personnel, and I love that Chip Kelly is the play caller. Chip Kelly has had balanced offenses. I think there was the idea that he was pass-heavy. It's not really the case. But what we like about him is that he operates his offenses at a breakneck pace. There is not a lot of time in between offensive snaps in a Chip Kelly offense, and that's great at the margins. It means more plays per game, more touch opportunities for your players in a Chip Kelly offense. So great landing spot, and we know Grandpa Pete Carroll is going to want to run the ball. He always did in Seattle. So yeah. Good landing spot.
It's kind of ironic hearing you call somebody grandpa. Let's go ahead and leave it at that.
Pete Carroll is older than I am, Worm. Not by much, but
I was gonna say that gap is closer than it is between you and me, right? I think it actually might be pretty similar. I won't put you on blast with your actual age out there for everybody, but they can guess. They've seen the videos. I want to ask you, I asked you this with Bogman directly after the draft, and I'm curious now that we've had some time to really kind of sit with the landing spots, what percentage chance would you give Ashton Jeanty for at any point in his career being the consensus Dynasty RB1? Because right now it is still Bijan Robinson. Jeanty's third on our list. And I thought, and I will say the number that you guys put out when I asked you this question immediately after the draft, I thought your number was a little low. So I'm curious if you've changed it at all.
You asked me what percentage.
Yes, I don't know if you even remember what number you guys said.
Oh man, I don't.
But I'm curious how you feel now. What percentage chance he is ever RB1 in Dynasty? Like consensus, everybody agrees on this.
I mean, I'm gonna say it's under 50, but not too far under 50. Maybe like 40%.
Okay, so that I think is a lot more fair. The initial response from you and Bogman, if you remember, on our marathon recording day that Monday after the draft, was more in the like 30 to 33% range, and I thought that was a touch low because I feel, I mean, obviously Bijan and Gibbs are great. I can't really imagine anybody else that's in the league right now surpassing Jeanty. You know, stuff could change, right? Injuries, whatever. But as of right now, it's really hard to imagine that. And I kind of feel like there's a real scenario where Jeanty is clearly ahead of Gibbs a year from now, and it just becomes kind of a Bijan Jeanty race. And if Jeanty has a better year, because like Bijan has been good, obviously, but maybe a little disappointing from what that immense hype was when he came into the league. I don't want to knock Bijan. Obviously, you'd be very happy to have him on your Dynasty roster, but not that kind of generational like Adrian Peterson level back. So if Jeanty does what we think he will in year one, and Bijan has another like very good but maybe not like record-setting year, I think that percentage has to be at least 40, and for me it's probably like 50.
Yeah, I get it, and you're right. There aren't that many candidates, and beyond the veterans we mentioned, which is probably just the short list of Bijan and Gibbs for the most part, like it would probably have to be one of the other rookies from this class. Like if Travion Henderson just like blows us away with how good he is, or RJ Harvey or Kaleb Johnson outkick expectations, or Judkins or Hampton. So it would probably have to be a scenario like that. But I don't know. I still love Bijan Robinson, and I think we finally saw last year, like, this dude is the truth. Like, I mean, I think he's just fantastic, and that is the bar that Genty is trying to reach in his rookie year.
In no way, shape, or form am I trying to disparage Bijan.
Oh, I know.
To be really clear.
I know.
I just think, I mean, Genty. We talked about Genty in the same way we talked about Bijan 2 years ago coming into the league.
Yep.
And he gets to start fresh. He's a little younger. He doesn't have the I don't even want to say stink, but he doesn't have the, like, we've seen the ways this could not be as elite yet. So there's still the kind of that hope level with him of, you know, being the clear number one guy. So
Genty doesn't have to play for Arthur Smith.
Yes, that is a massive. Well, one guy who's playing for Arthur Smith is Kaleb Johnson. I was surprised to see Johnson's value change went down in our trade value chart. On the one hand, I get it that he was a third-round pick, but on the other hand, I mean, everybody's talking about what a sublime fit this is. I think it was Nate Tice who said he's Honey, I Shrunk Derrick Henry. Now he's playing for Arthur Smith, who has coached Derrick Henry to great success. Like, this is such a wonderful landing spot that I'm not saying I'm necessarily surprised he's below. Like, RJ Harvey took a huge leap ahead of him. That is very warranted, I think. But I was surprised to see his value go down rather than up with the landing spot.
Yeah, and I think, I want to say it was J.J. Zacharyson, who is a Steelers fan, who had, like, when he ran his model, two of the comps he got for Kaleb Johnson pre-draft were Le'Veon Bell and James Conner. So it does seem like the Steelers have a type. And, yeah, maybe the dip is related to the third-round draft capital when I think we were all expecting second round for him. And I do think we have to beware here because Arthur Smith does use multiple running backs. And I think we know that Jaylen Warren was going to stay involved, and maybe Kenny Gainwell does too. But it is a good spot. Like, an early down thumper on the Steelers, like, it just feels right. So, you know, I'm a little surprised that he did drop, but we had him pretty high to begin with, probably largely because of Debro's rankings, and Debro loves Kaleb and had him as his RB2 pre-draft.
I traded from my receiver depth to get the 110 in our work league with Jonathan, who's a guy behind the scenes who does great work for us. And it was because I was desperately needed a running back, and 5 running backs had already gone off the board in the first 9 picks, and I was like, I have to go up, and I had the 12th pick, and I was like, I desperately need one. And Kaleb was the last one left, and I was really happy to get him there at 110. And as soon as I drafted him, Debro started sending me messages like, what's it going to take to get Kaleb Johnson? So we know how much he likes him. He loves RJ Harvey too, of course. Yeah, the rookies, just to kind of share where they fell. None of them took, like, crazy leaps outside of, like, Harvey jumping up a ton, which I think is pretty apparent to everybody why that happened. You know, Marion Hampton's our 6th highest valued running back in this Dynasty trade value chart. Henderson 10th, Judkins 11th, RJ Harvey 18th, Kaleb Johnson 19th. The very clear top 6 there. Was there anybody, as I scroll through, I mean, a couple of guys, like obviously Najee Harris, I think, is a big one who falls because of the rookie edition there. Ramondre Stevenson falls a bit as well. Anybody stand out to you that, like, we really should be knocking down, and maybe even a little bit further than they did get knocked down because of a new addition to the backfield that we saw?
Yeah, I mean, we have to knock Tyrone Tracy a little bit, but I think the big one for him is Travis Etienne. Like, his future is really uncertain. It's his last year in Jacksonville. This new regime with their new young general manager and Liam Cohen is the new head coach. Like, they have no loyalty to Travis Etienne. And they went out and picked Bashal Tutin. Like, they identified him as a guy who fits what they want to do in the draft. And you know, put some fairly significant draft capital into him, and you know, he's younger and probably has more juice than Travis Etienne. So whereas I think you could still see daylight for Tank Bigsby as a complementary back to Bashal Tutin, it is hard to see Travis Etienne, especially coming off a year in which, like, Etienne was just bad by pretty much any metric. Like, he was underwater in the rushing yards above expectation. Like, his number was negative last year. Like, Tank Bigsby just dramatically outperformed him last year. And, like, I don't think this bodes well. The only thing that could result in a win, I guess, for Travis Etienne's dynasty value is if the Jaguars just decide to deal him to like the Cowboys or something like that, or the Bears, some other team that might need another running back. But even then, I don't know how much optimism there would be with Etienne on the Cowboys, since they also have Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders and Jaydon Blue.
I thought that Javonte might have gone up a bit in these rankings because it's not like he's that old yet, and another year removed from the injury. Somebody that you loved pre-injury as a player, and they didn't go out and get Genty. Didn't fall to them. They didn't take Hampton. They didn't. They took Blue, who was a player we like, but I think we might like more for the opportunity than as somebody that we were going to be really excited to see the landing spot. Regardless, there's a real runway here, and I Miles Sanders is a nothing burger right at this point. So if this offense is any good at all, which I think it could be with Dak and CeeDee, and if Pickens' head is even halfway screwed on right, I think there might be real scoring opportunities here for Javonte this year. I'm not saying he needs to be a top 24 back or anything, but he's currently 43rd. Behind guys like Ramondre and Najee Harris now with Hampton there. I was a little surprised by that.
Yeah, and it's possible the medical issues now being further in the rearview mirror for him, that we do see him look something closer to what he was pre-injury early in his career, which would be awesome. But we just haven't seen much juice since his return. I guess that's the problem. So jury very much out. But yeah, the Dallas running back situation is really interesting. And, I see that Stun Black Raptor in the chat is asking, what do we think about Jaydon Blue? It was a great landing spot for him, but he is, I tend to think he is going to be their third down back. I just don't know how much room there is for him to do more, because he's super fast, but also pretty small. I don't think they want him carrying the mail 15 to 20 times a game. It's just a matter of how much they can put on his plate. And I don't know. I also heard, and I don't know, I hesitate to repeat something like this because we don't know, but maybe there were some concerns about just off the field or dedication or something like that. Maybe the intangibles were not the best with him. So we'll see. It's going to be really interesting, and it's something we're going to have to monitor in August for sure.
We have a real grouping of rookies in this range, in the RB 50s range. Blue, Sampson, Jordan James, Jarquez Hunter, Devin Neal, DJ Giddens, Trevor Etienne, Woody Marks. These guys are all within 2 points of value points on our trade value chart. And even right behind Marks, Brashard Smith, Taj Brooks are just another kind of value point behind. So, to a degree, do you see that as personal preference? You could, if somebody liked a different player than you preferred in that grouping, you can see it. Do you see anybody separating themselves from that group? It feels like that kind of range of the, third, back half of the third round of rookie drafts, early part of the fourth round of rookie drafts is just some order, all of these guys.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Jarquez Hunter goes to a place where they've already got Kyren Williams. They drafted Blake Corum fairly early.
I was going to ask you quickly, just because you mentioned him first. I was surprised Hunter was behind Corum. I almost thought we might see they just took this guy in the third round. They must like him better.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to shake out, and it's hard to figure out what the Rams are thinking with that. So I like Corum last year coming out. I thought in some ways, and I know it was a weak running back class, but he was maybe, I thought, the best pure runner in the class. We just didn't get to see enough of him in his rookie year to really make any further judgments about him. But that's going to be an interesting training camp battle to watch, Worm. And Jordan James, you can never really, any decent running back prospect on the 49ers is interesting in a Kyle Shanahan offense where they always run the ball effectively. And, Devin Neal, who was a later pick, didn't get the draft capital we wanted. But, man, the Saints with Kendre Miller, who can't stay healthy, and, needing some sort of complement to Alvin Kamara, Like the door is wide open for him to have an impact. So yeah, there are a lot of really interesting rookies, and it would be very hard to confidently predict smash hit success for any of them, but also really hard to just dismiss any of them out of hand. I think they all have a chance to develop into valuable fantasy assets for Dynasty.
I wanted to get a little bit of all these guys in my rookie drafts. I didn't really get any get-ins, just the way it worked out. But like, I have some James, I have some Hunter, I have some Marks, I have some Brashard Smith, I have some Taj. Like, I wanted to. There are guys that I maybe liked a little bit better. I really like James, honestly, just the situation. Like, if Christian McCaffrey's hurt, I think he's going to be a real value. But I want to diversify in that range. Same. My approach.
Yeah, I've got a few rookie drafts left, and there are a few bingo spots I haven't filled yet, and I really want to fill them.
By now, most of you have probably heard of Reality Sports Online, the powerful fantasy sports platform where owners get to build and manage their fantasy team like an NFL general manager. But the question is, have you tried it? It's time to go see what all the buzz in the Dynasty community is about. Free agency, multi-year contracts, a rookie drafts, multi-team trades, franchise tags, contract extensions, first-round rookie options, automated contract and salary cap functionality, and much, much more. Think it sounds complicated? It's not. The best thing about Reality Sports Online Fantasy Front Office is that it doesn't take any more time than a standard league. It just requires more strategy. Think you're among the fantasy elite? Well, this is the platform to test your mettle. Still not sure? You can test out your general manager skills for free in a mock free agency auction. If you like what you see, use promo code FantasyPros to receive a 10% discount on your team or league today. That's promo code FantasyPros to receive a 10% discount on your team or league today. Fantasy just got real at realitysportsonline.com. All right, Fitz, we went a little long on the running backs because that was kind of the heart of this class. Receivers are always very interesting with the rookies, though, so I do just want to kind of take a look at where some of these guys fell in. Ted McMillan went in the rough range we expected. He's going to get a lot of targets in Carolina, so he didn't really move much. Travis Hunter, obviously the Jags trade up for him. They're talking about him as an offense-first player. He is now wide receiver 17 in this trade value chart. He jumped up kind of 15 value points. He's now in the same range as Tet and T. Higgins and Devontae Smith and Rome Odunze are kind of the names sandwiching him on either side. Where did you have him? Does that line up with you, or was this moved by kind of other rankers that go into this?
Yeah, I've got him 18th, so it's pretty much right in line. I've got him one spot further back. 17 versus 18. I'm on board with it. He's a really good prospect. Maybe he's got some superstar potential. My only real fear with Travis Hunter is the playing both ways thing, because if you give him a lot of snaps or a significant amount of snaps on defense, they're probably going to limit his offensive snaps a bit more. Like the top receivers, the Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson types, those guys typically play like 90 to 93% of their team's offensive snaps. I think that if they are giving Travis Hunter somewhere between 15 and 25 defensive snaps a game, they're not going to let him play 90 to 93% of the offensive snaps. It might be more like 75%. And that, just kind of like chops into his offensive production a little. It's going to affect his target count. You win and lose fantasy football at the margins, and that's something we have to consider. Plus, there's always the possibility of a rug pull down the road where he switches to mostly defense and part-time offense, in which case there's going to be a huge value hit. So that's just something looming over your head. But then, the potential prize with Travis Hunter being just this freakish athlete with amazing ball skills, he could make us look silly with a ranking of wide receiver 17 overall.
I did not have the cojones to take him in any of my rookie drafts. I just, if I'm picking in an area where you are able to get him, which is going to be that 2 to 5 range in a super flex, depending on the order that guys go, I was just not comfortable risking spending one of those picks on a guy who gets hurt more often because he's playing too many snaps, or ultimately finds out he's better on the defensive side, who isn't even wide receiver 1 in the offense, even if he is playing wide receiver because of Brian Thomas Jr. This is not me explaining my thought process as a way of encouraging people to not draft him. This is just where my head was at, and I I liked the other players available enough. I liked Omarion Hampton. I liked Tet McMillan enough to say, let me take the guy that I'm really confident in, and not the guy whose ceiling is as high as, all but like 4 receivers, but who is further from a sure thing than any of those guys. So for me, I don't really have any Travis Hunter, and maybe I will feel like it could be week 2 and I'm sitting there like, boy, did I blow it. But that's the way I approached it.
I had the 105 in my home Dynasty league. I had both Tet and Hunter on the board. I took Tet.
Yeah, I had Tet higher, and especially because like if Tet fell or went to a terrible landing spot or something, then maybe I wouldn't. But like he's gonna get all the targets. Bryce Young looked better last year. Like I felt good about Tet and am nervous about Travis Hunter. I did want to ask about another rookie though, Emeka Egbuka, a guy that you and I both really liked as a player. He went up in value. A lot of people view this as like a long-term good fit, him with Baker Mayfield in this offense. But short-term, obviously, there's Mike Evans. There's Chris Godwin coming off of injury. There's Jalen McMillan from last year. There's also a new play caller in town with Liam Cohen gone. So I was surprised to see the value go up because I feel like I think a lot of times people look at a guy who you want to take the long view with, and you say, okay, this is a player that we really liked, and we could see how in year 2 or 3 the landing spot is going to look really nice. Year 1, though, he's kind of buried on the depth chart. After that first year, even if it plays out like that and it looks like the path is kind of opening up for them to get more targets or carries or whatever it is for that type of player, I feel like that value hit is still there, and you could almost even just aim to buy low in year 2. Does Egbuka fall into that category for you where you're like, listen, if Mike Evans and let's say Chris Godwin is back healthy are eating up all the targets in this offense, would you rather like not draft Egbuka in your rookie draft and just say, I'm going to make some buy low trades for him next offseason? Or do you think the value hit won't be that much because people are just going to kind of stay strong and dig their heels in and believe that by year 2 this will look really good?
Yeah, and maybe I could even see the possibility of some year 1 impact. Like I think he's a better player than Jalen McMillan. And, we don't know that Chris Godwin's going to be the same. Like last time we saw that dude, his foot was dangling limply from the rest of his leg. That was a pretty substantial injury. And I think in the case of Egbuka, where draft capital trumps landing spot. And I don't think it's a terrible landing spot. Just the fact that he was a top 20 pick when people weren't totally sure he was going to be a first rounder. Like, I think that was a lot of people felt validation for that. And I know I kind of did as a ranker, and I think Erickson and Debro probably did as well.
We can't hit every rookie receiver because there's just too many of them. But the last one that I do want to make sure I ask you about is Luther Burden, because I think it was a surprise for a lot of people to see him go to Chicago. They had already drafted a pass catcher, albeit a tight end, in the first round. They, of course, already have Rome Odunze and DJ Moore. There's a new head coach in town, new play caller, and Ben Johnson. Burden, to me, and this is somebody who guys who were doing way too early rookie drafts a year out as kind of just a way of projecting the 2025 class had Burden in the top, 3. Like, this is somebody who had a lot of hype coming into the season. We know the talent is there. It's a more specialized skill set, but really, really talented. Now goes to a very crowded room. DJ Moore, maybe on the way out. There's a lot has been made of some of the clips of him walking off the field during plays last year, how he fits with Kaleb Williams. We need to see Kaleb Williams take a step forward to even feed this number of guys. And of course, like I mentioned, Ben Johnson of it all being there too, who seemed really excited about Burden, calling him a stud in that post-draft press conference and everything. So for you, what went into Burden, who is currently at wide receiver 37? He's behind guys like Golden, Pickens, Tyreek Hill. He's ahead of guys like Trey Harris, Jaden Higgins, Devontae Adams in the trade value chart. What went into that ranking for you?
I understand the too many mouths to feed narrative is going to scare some people away from Luther Burden. I totally get that. But the reason why I'm pretty excited about him and why I actually have him ranked higher than we have him on the trade chart, where he is wide receiver 37. I've got him wide receiver 34. A few things. First of all, if this dude had been drafted after his sophomore year, he would have been a top 10 pick. Just like the monstrous breakout he had from Mizzou in the SEC, that far and away the toughest conference in the country. like it was a weird final year for him. Brady Cook, the Missouri quarterback, played through some injuries. Burden didn't play well. I mean, I watched a Texas A&M game where he had like an 80-yard touchdown catch called back by a shaky penalty. Just a lot of different things. But like this dude's got some talent. Like he is a freak with the ball in his hands. Number two, Worm, I mean, like he is the most ready-made slot receiver the Bears have on their roster right now. And oh, by the way, Ben Johnson is coming from an offense where he turned Amon-Ra St. Brown into like one of the most valuable fantasy properties of anyone. Just like this immensely valuable player. And the fact that the Bears went out and like paid high day 2 draft capital to get Luther Burden. Like this was a very specific target for them. They wanted this guy. And so just a lot of reasons to be excited about him, even if, there's probably not an outlook for 120 targets in year 1.
I did not get Burden in any of my rookie drafts, and I wish I had. I didn't really have the opportunity. There was like one time where it was between him and Egbuka, and I was like, I got to follow. I liked the player better and the draft capital. I went with Egbuka. I don't regret that. And then there was another one where it was, I need every position. The team is terrible. I didn't think any of the 6 running backs were getting to me at the top of the second round. And then RJ Harvey got there. And I was like, well, I got to take RJ Harvey. That landing spot's too great. And so I didn't end up with, in the other leagues, I didn't even really have a chance at Burden. But I feel like that's one where I might feel some real FOMO about it.
I'm a Green Bay Packers fan. I took him over Matthew Golden in one rookie draft.
I have him ahead of Golden. Golden to me is third out of Egbuka, Burden, and Golden. Golden is the guy who might burn me most, but he is of the guys going in that kind of consensus top 15-ish range in most rookie drafts. He's the one I've been the most out on. That like, would I take him if he fell to me in like the middle of the second? Sure, of course, but that I have not really been pursuing at all, and could come back to bite me. We'll see. But I like Burden better, so I like that pick by you. Let's look at the tight ends real quickly, and then we'll dive into some of the questions that we're getting from people in the chat. And if anybody wants to hop up on the stages, we'll get you asking your question verbally as well. Obviously, this is a very rookie-focused episode because, we have these landing spots now. Colston Loveland does jump ahead of Tyler Warren. I think I don't know if that's like 100% consensus, but I think that is like the majority consensus. Definitely agrees with that given the landing spot. Obviously, Loveland is paired with Ben Johnson. We saw what he did at Sam Laporta in year 1. He's paired with Kaleb Williams, who has some work to do, but is more proven certainly than Anthony Richardson, where Tyler Warren goes. And he just goes higher. He goes a few spots ahead of him on actual draft day. So I think you and I are definitely going to be in agreement on Loveland ahead of Warren at this point. How wide of a gap do you see that as, though?
Not a big one. We have it as a 1-point value gap, and I think that's pretty close to where I'd be. I'd maybe have it at 2 or 3 points tops.
Like and they're 4 and 5 in the rankings. Is that also where you would have them with that gap? Okay.
I do have them at 4 and 5 myself. And it would not surprise me at all if Tyler Warren did turn out to have the better career. But Colston Loveland is 2 years younger and was drafted earlier.
I would be really surprised to see Warren go ahead of Loveland in a draft. My jaw wouldn't be on the floor the way it would if like Genty didn't go first in a rookie draft or something. Yeah. But I would be surprised in any draft where it played out that way. I just think there's too much in Loveland's favor at this point. And I still like Warren. I mean, we have him as a top 5 tight end. By the way, I've said this every time we've done this. I still don't think the gap between Bowers and everybody else is big enough. It's now Bowers' trade value is 69, and Trey McBride is second at 58. Laporte is at 52, Loveland 47, Warren 46, just to give kind of a sense of the gap there. I still don't think it's enough.
I know. You should probably be like 75. I'm like,
yeah, in a Dynasty startup, not even talking tight end premium, I mean, I think Bowers would go, and maybe I'm wrong, because I've been so focused on rookies, and you and I with Bogman are going to do some Dynasty startup stuff with listeners soon, some mocks, so that'll be really fun to kind of see how it plays out. I feel like even in not tight end premium, Bowers would be, set aside the quarterbacks, because like in Superflex, people's mileage may vary on like how willing they are to kind of wait at that position. Set aside the quarterbacks, I don't think there's more than 6 or 7 names I would even remotely consider ahead of Bowers. Like, it's the elite receivers, and it's like Genty, although some people don't like taking a running back early in those formats. Like, I think Bowers is a steal if you're getting him in like late second round in a startup. I mean, where do you think he should be going? I'm not entirely sure what to expect when we start kind of getting into those conversations. In
a super flex startup, where do I think Bowers should be going?
Yeah.
I have him in my overall super flex rankings, and I see that someone in the chat just said he went 5th in a super flex startup, non-tight end premium. I have got him 18th overall, mid-second round.
Yeah. Mid-second. I think anything late second round is a steal. I think mid-second round is fair, and I think early second round is like justifiable. In Superflex, I think I am not comfortable passing a quarterback, so like he wouldn't be in. If I'm taking a guy who's not a quarterback in the first round, it's going to be one of the big 4, let's call it, receivers of Chase, Jefferson, Lamb, and Neighbors. But I think I can see you making the case for it, and in tight end premium, like, I don't know, take it 4th, behind only the 3 best quarterbacks. I don't know. Anyways, I don't need people don't need me to tell them Brock Bowers is good. I just always laugh every time I see this. It's like the value, like I feel like I've tried to get the gap even bigger, and it's never big enough, dude. And I love Trey McBride, honestly. I think McBride's a stud. But anything else in the tight ends quickly? Any of the other rookies go to landing spots that you thought warranted big moves? Obviously, Cole Kmet drops a lot with Loveland going there. Terrence Ferguson gets a nice landing spot with the Rams. Harold Fannin, behind Njoku now, maybe long-term a good fit there. What'd you think about some of these other rookie landing spots quickly?
Yeah, really good landing spot for Ferguson. We needed to bump him up. So, especially with the Rams, I think they're going to use their tight ends. And, he's a pretty athletic dude. And obviously we had to really dock Cole Kmet with the arrival of Colston Loveland in Chicago. That kind of wiped out Kmet's fantasy value. So, that's about it. No huge movers besides those guys, I think.
You can evaluate trades with confidence using FantasyPros Trade Analyzer. Instantly see the impact of trades on your team and get expert recommendations. Whether you're making a 2-for-1 deal or swapping a couple draft picks for that stud who will help you win now, the Trade Analyzer will help you optimize your roster and make smarter decisions. Try the Trade Analyzer today at fantasypros.com/myplaybook and dominate your league. We had a lot of fun stuff to talk about. This is rookie draft season. This is the most important couple of weeks for a lot of dynasty managers, at least.
Absolutely. Glad we got to do it. We hadn't done a show together for a while, Worm, and, like you said, after the NFL draft, we had a lot to get off our chests. So.
Yes, for sure. All right, well, for Fitz, I'm Ryan Wormeli. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We will see you again next time.